This is the Palin Update on SaraNet Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla.
Who can argue a movement that is about the people and for the people? Remember, all political power is inherent in the people, and government is supposed to be working for the people. That is what this movement is about.
His name is Tim Donnelly. He's a California state assemblyman. He's billed as a patriot, not a politician. And he's running for governor in the Golden State. The very popular Tim Donnelly joins us today on the show. Sarah Palin turns 50, and she gets a surprise happy birthday video card, plus some other goodies. Well, it's confirmed Governor Palin is back at CPAC this year. A happy birthday, Honest Abe. The Iron Dog race gets underway in Alaska. A brand new Commonwealth Common Sense with Susan Stimson. And just ahead, our latest edition of Steel Resolve with Sarah Steelman. First up, if you're ever on social media and you take a look at patriot groups, Tea Party groups, conservative groups, they're all raving about Tim Donnelly. He's running for governor in California and trying to change a state that has been as blue can get in recent memory. We're happy to have him here today with us, Assemblyman Donnelly. Welcome to the Palin Update on SaraNet Radio.
It's my pleasure, Kevin.
Now, you're a popular guy nowadays, at least in common sense circles and patriotic circles. I mean, I see your name every day on Twitter and Facebook, people in California and outside of the state who are very passionate about your candidacy.
Yeah, you know, California is a bellwether for the nation, and the GOP doesn't even believe we can win it. And they've pretty much given up. And, you know, all the money that goes into politics pretty much out of California goes to federal races and leaves the state. I think we could do it a different way.
And that way is you want to get back to those basics that make our country exceptional, right? Free enterprise, liberty, restricting government regulation, and upholding the Constitution.
Well, yeah. I mean, what you're talking about are American principles and American values. And I don't think that they are only restricted to the Republican Party. I think there's an awful lot of Democrats that have been left behind because their party has been hijacked, in California at least, by Marxist progressives, people who want to control you. They want to use government to advance their own agendas, which is build a legion and an army of regulators that self-perpetuate. Government's become the fastest-growing industry in the state of California. And there's a whole lot of people that really don't want that, and yet they feel like they have no place to go, and we're uniting them in our campaign.
So many issues in California, and like you said, they transcend to the whole nation, but border control and immigration, a big one. And you have a real place of experience to speak from there since you founded the largest Minuteman chapter in California.
Yes, I did. And so I understand the immigration issue more than almost any other candidate in California, Republican or Democrat. I lived on the border. I've witnessed the absolute tyranny of our government, and really there's tyranny in two governments. You've got the government of Mexico that has completely abandoned the rule of law and been taken over and hijacked by corruption, to the tune that almost 100,000 people have died there. They've lost count just in the last 4 years. And we have human trafficking. We have minors, young boys and girls being sold into the sex trade on the street of California while their parents are promised they'll work in restaurants and hotels. It's a tragedy and an atrocity right here in our own backyard, and everybody thinks by ignoring it, somehow it's all going to get better.
You break things down very simply as far as the issues are concerned on the trail. You talk about responsibility, prosperity, security, and freedom. Let's touch on these. First, responsibility. You say our future depends on it.
Well, absolutely. I mean, personal responsibility, meaning you own the consequences of your own actions. What is this nonsense where government's supposed to bail out and save everybody? I think that just grinds on the average hardworking American. It grinds on their sensibilities. And, you know, the idea in California we have 2.5 times as many people dependent on government, on welfare programs. We have the government paying people not to work, and yet at the very same time, with their oppressive regulations and confiscatory tax policies, they've driven job opportunities out of the state. So, you know, every which way you look, government has become the greatest threat to our future and to our success and opportunity.
Prosperity, you believe, comes from lower taxes and regulatory reform. Can you elaborate there?
We could put California on a pathway to prosperity tomorrow. It isn't complicated, and prosperity will fix almost everything that ails California. But it starts by repealing and getting rid of obstacles to progress. And a lot of these obstacles were set up just so that regulators and the paperwork police can have jobs. And we need to shrink government so we can increase opportunity. We ought to be fracking our way to prosperity and drilling our way to prosperity rather than sitting on an ocean of oil and importing it from our enemies. We ought to be using the bully pulpit to lower tax rates, not raise them like Governor Jerry Brown did. And you know, the bottom line is, if we made California the sexiest place on the planet to do business, meaning California's already gorgeous on the outside, but the personality of California is Jerry Brown, and it's repulsive. It's pushing people out of the state. We need a personality that is friendly and inviting and says, hey, we want you to come here, and we want business owners and taxpayers and citizens to feel that this is the only place on the planet Earth they want to be.
And when it comes to security, Assemblyman, you say the state government has failed in that department.
Oh, there's an epic fail. I mean, Jerry Brown passed what he called the realignment. Well, in simple terms, that just means early release for criminals. He's letting violent predators like Jerome Davila out. Man was violated his parole and was put in jail for 24 hours. And as soon as they released him under this early release Jerry Brown program, he raped and murdered his 76-year-old grandmother. They're doing this. They're dumping these violent criminals onto our streets and into our neighborhoods. At the very same time, they're trying to turn every law-abiding American, law-abiding Californian into a criminal when they want to buy a gun to defend themselves. They're making it harder and harder and harder to exercise your fundamental, natural, constitutional, civil right of self-defense by dismantling the Second Amendment. So right there, that's one of those issues that is a huge crossover issue. There's no Republicans or Democrats when it comes to defending your family from a violent criminal. You want to have that ability. And there is some exciting news on that front. The Ninth Circuit, that liberal court of appeals, that federal court, has actually declared California a shall-issue state. So even if you're poor, even if you live in a bad neighborhood and you're not politically connected, you can actually get a concealed carry weapons permit in the state of California now.
Touching on the Second Amendment there, to follow up a little bit, liberty and freedom overall seems like we're losing it every day, especially when it comes to guns and also health care.
Well, absolutely. I mean, if you look at what Jerry Brown did in California on health care, he's bringing in the Obamacare, but then making it 100 times worse. Every single natural free enterprise incentive that was built into Obamacare, and there weren't many, but there were a handful. If you're a smoker, if you're morbidly obese, you had to pay a little bit more to ensure the risk of your own behavior. Well, now, in California, there can be no additional penalty. Everybody's in the same boat. And the bottom line is a whole lot of Californians, they call this the Affordable Care Act. Well, how affordable is it if you lose your job and you can't feed your family? There's a lot of people that are struggling to put food on the table and gas in the tank and keep a roof over their heads. The last thing in the world they can afford is to pay more for health care when they could barely afford health care in the first place.
Is that your dog, Assemblyman?
Yeah, that's my dog.
It sounds like we've hit some issues that your dog's pretty fired up about, too. I mean, we're talking about personal liberties and freedoms. It's not just for the two-legged, huh?
Absolutely. Well, hey, in the state of California,
well, they vote.
Some dogs that have actually voted.
Right, and Chicago and Philadelphia. But, one character trait of Sarah Palin's that we so love, that we can see in you, sir, is you tell it like it is. There's no filter, no teleprompter, no political speak, if you will. Do you find that most effective when you talk to real voters? And also, do you admire Palin's willingness to not hold back when it comes to this country?
I have a great deal of admiration for Sarah Palin and what she did, which is basically she's a normal person who talks like a normal person, and it so offends the political establishment and the elite. And I'll tell you what, the one thing that seems to unify people, and I don't care if they are Republican, Democrat, liberal, or even leftist. I mean, I've had guys like Rob Schneider endorse me, and he holds some very different views than me on about 80% of the issues. But the bottom line is that people want somebody who's got skin in the game, somebody who's normal, somebody who's like us. I'm not independently wealthy. I'm just a normal American. I had my own business, and California's policies regulated me out of business. And I'm there to fight so that every single Californian has the same opportunity that I had. I came to the state with $300 in my pocket, and within a decade, I married an amazing woman and built my own business in the manufacturing sector. And I don't see that same opportunity for my kids or anybody else's kids right now in the state of California. A lot of them are hitting the highway and heading to Texas and other states so that they can have a better life and live the American dream. I think the California dream starts by us taking back our power and restoring this state to the land of opportunity again. Simple as that.
California's been very liberal with elections. I know people who've left your state for Texas and other places because they just couldn't take the far-left agenda anymore. So I think you touched on this a little more if you could. How can a real constitutional common-sense patriot like yourself have a real shot in a state now run by Jerry Brown and other ultra-liberals?
Well, look, we're doing this a different way. We have. I kicked off 10 days ago a bus tour. I hit 40 cities, logged over 5,000 miles. I can't tell you how many hands I shook or how many people I met, how many radio programs I was on, but there is an enthusiasm and an excitement and a momentum that is building. It's not just building for Tim Donnelly. It's building for a cause that's much greater than ourselves, and that's restoring the cause of the first revolution, which is liberty. California used to be the freest, most prosperous state in the Union, and what's happened is it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, you hear California being made fun of. California is the butt of late-night jokes. And one thing that I've discovered is when you talk about pride and bringing pride back, and that means bringing jobs and opportunity and liberty and freedom and to be able to celebrate what's great about California, that inspires a lot of people because it's a non-political message. So that's what we're doing, and we're doing it a different way. I mean, I put out a little video with Maria Conchita Alonso. She was basically chased out of a job because liberal, diverse, and tolerant San Francisco, people were calling in threatening to burn down the theater because she was supporting me for governor. I mean, because I'm a Tea Party guy and I'm a Minuteman. Well, you know what? A whole lot of people, this went all over the media, and within, I don't know, a week and a half, we've got about $1 million worth of free media. I've got this incredible actress who's doing commercials for me on newscasts in 2 languages all over the country. So there's another way to do it, but it starts by picking the right fight and by sticking to your guns and by uniting people, by just not offending them. Treat them with respect. Doesn't mean you ever back down on what you believe in, because there are principles that are absolutely fundamental to our liberty, and that's what I'm fighting for.
Well, Tim Donnelly, you have certainly invigorated a lot of folks. What's your website, sir? It's
electtimdonnelly.com. So it's elect Tim Donnelly. Donnelly is just spelled 2 N's and 2 L's. And we also have a great Facebook page. We have some great videos out there that are easy to share. And you know what? We're asking people to understand that what happens in California will eventually affect you, and we could use your help to win the governorship and turn California around so we can turn this country around.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for being here today. All the best to you, your campaign, your family, and, of course, the pooch.
God bless you and Godspeed.
Again, visit electtimdonnelly.com to learn more and help Donnelly as he runs for governor in California. That's electtimdonnelly, DONNELLY.com.